Okay, so nothing's ever simple. Nothing ever is, especially when you're working with computers and you don't know what you're doing. Um, but I'm learning, and this project was a lot of fun because I learned a whole lot of stuff. The original idea for this project was create a Pi Zero that was capable of both um, collecting information on a broad network scan, collecting information on a very specific network scan, de-authenticating a client, and then collecting the key exchange handshake, the four-way EAPOL, the four-way handshake between WPA2 devices. And it worked. Most of the time it worked. Not all the time, though. I'm not sure why. I think it has something to do with, well, for one, me not knowing enough, but for two, attempting to do too much with too little. That being said, the Pi Zero makes an excellent augmentation device for another computer. And when I say augmentation device, I mean the Pi Zero is an incredibly small platform that is capable of interacting with networks. It has a Wi-Fi chip, and you can enable monitor mode on it through a firmware update, which the link be in the description there. And then at that point you can use it to de-authenticate a client while still using your host client. So I'll just show you real quick. Plug this guy into the computer. Hopefully you can see the green light blinking there. It should be recognized any second now. There you go. So the computer picked it up and launched Device Manager. And you see it shows up in ports, COM and LPT. It's actually labeled as Pi USB to serial, and it's on COM3. In Linux, it's a little bit harder to find, but it's really not too bad. You would just use dmessage and then grep TTY out of that and look for a new TTY device, and I'll put that in the description too. So with PuTTY and Windows here, a little bit easier. Just specify COM port 3, speed 9600, and there you go. Now we're on the Pi. So I'm going to log in, and now we're in the Pi. Turn this off, because that's stupid. So if we enter super user mode, we can search for the daemons that are active, network daemons. So that's airmon-ng check. You see we have WPA supplicants active. We have, that's it actually. So we're on airmon-ng check and kill. Now we're going to kill all those clients. These are things that could interfere with the Wi-Fi chip. So Pi Zero is kind of slow, but there we go. So it killed 2 WPA supplicants and it killed a DHCP CD. So it's no longer going to be interacting with a network as a managed interface usually would. It's not going to be requesting IP addresses. It's not going to be looking for BSSID broadcasts from routers. It's just kind of sitting there right now. So with that done, we checked and we killed. We're going to start that interface. So airmon-ng start WLAN 0. And then that should split into WLAN 0 and WLAN 0 mon. WLAN 0 is in effect useless at this point. We can't connect to networks, not a specific network anyway, but we can listen to everything. So, get rid of some old files I had laying around. Okay, so now we're going to do our initial scan. So I'm doing arrow dump ng option W. I'm going to write to a file, and I'll just call it initial. And I'll point it to the new interface we just made, which was WLAN 0 mon. So hopefully that works. There we go. So now we're collecting some information. The router that we want to attack is just a test router. I have it set up right over there. But it should be, there we go, bub test. So now we're going to try and collect information on that specific router. So arrowdump.ng, we're going to write to a file. We'll call this one BSSID, because we know the BSSID, so we'll just call it that in the file name. We're going to select a channel with option C, and it's on channel 6. And then we're going to use option BSSID. It's 2 hyphens, so hyphen hyphen BSSID. And then we'll just copy the MAC address of that router that's in there. And then again, point it at the interface WLAN 0 mon, and that should run. There we go. So now we're collecting information on a specific network. The only information we're gathering right now is information being sent out by the router and any clients connected to that router. For the sake of this demonstration, I have my phone set up to access this network. And there we go. So we see that this client is in fact active on the network. So there we go. We got the information we need. We have the router MAC address, we have the client's MAC address, we have the channel it resides on, and that was all done on this little Pi0, which is pretty nifty. So I'm going to stop the video here, and then I'm going to boot up the Pi4 on this monitor. I'm going to take the Pi0, plug it into the Pi4, and then I'll show you what we do from there. It's pretty cool, so you guys should stick around. And we're back. Where we left off before the Pi0 was plugged into the larger computer, the Pi0 had scanned every network within range and picked up on MAC addresses of routers and clients connected. We honed in on one specific network, being my test network in this case, and then we captured the MAC address of both the test network router and the client on that network, my phone, and we can see that there. That's all the information we need. We know it's on channel 6 also, that helps. So currently we're still collecting information on that network, nothing's changed there. But what we are going to do is deauthenticate this phone, the client, using airplay.ng. Option 0 is how many deauthentication packets you want to send to it. So I'm just going to send one stream of packets. That should be enough because everything is in close proximity. If not, I'll just send another stream of packets. Within the airplay.ng command, we're also specifying the router MAC address and the client MAC address, as well as the local interface that is in monitor mode. Basically, this phone is going to interpret those messages sent from AirPlay as if it were coming from the router that it is connected to, but it's not coming from that router. It's coming from the Pi, so the Pi's, tricking the client a little bit here. So let me bring this up. Maybe we can see it here. Gonna be up here. So you see now it's in a bright white. We're currently connected. So I'm gonna try and deauthenticate. Still connected. Let's try it one more time. One more time. Huh. There we go. Okay, we're deauthenticated. And now it's going to attempt to reconnect. Got it. Got the handshake. So now we're good. What we would do from this point is take that handshake capture file. You can look at it in great detail if you wish, in like a program like Wireshark, but it's all going to be gobbledygook. It's going to be worthless to you. But we can attempt to brute force it using a program like Crunch or Hashcat, and at that point we're just trying to solve for X basically. So we just throw a bunch of random guesses at it, and eventually you get it, or you don't. A weak password can take a couple minutes. Very, very strong password can take an eternity. Literally, the universe will die, and you will not have that password. But should you get that password, be it through brute forcing or known vulnerabilities within certain algorithms, like the outdated WEP protocol or TKIP encryption that is still used on WPA, for instance. Once we have access to that network via that password, we can do a lot of interesting things. We can pretend to be the router, at which point the clients would put a lot of respect and trust into us, so we can do all sorts of goofy stuff. there's some other options that come to mind. Honestly, you don't need to do any of this. What's called the the evil twin attack, involves public Wi-Fi mostly, and you just pretend to be a public Wi-Fi. So this little Pi Zero could in theory broadcast as if it were an open public Wi-Fi like Starbucks or McDonald's or something like that. As soon as people connect to it, certain little things happen here and there. Maybe remote execution of code or something like that, and then it bounces it immediately to the real router. So the client connecting to the Pi has no idea what happened because it just happened like that, real quick. But ultimately you gain a backdoor into that computer. Tons of different options. This is just one. And anyway, I had a lot of fun doing this project. I hope the presentation goes well on Tuesday, because it almost never goes well here, because this stuff is complex and I'm an idiot. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it.